November 1st, 2022. And I have a little song I want to sing to y'all. The Daily Rob again. It's Monday and we have the Daily Rob again. Joe Biden's trying to vaccinate all my friends, but at least we have the Daily Rob again. And on that note, we have the one, the only, the legendary Rob Smith.
Hello, Stuart.
Hey there.
It's our Halloween edition. By the way, I smell a lot of reefer coming from your side of the computer.
Yeah, Waylon, Chris, and Johnny, they're off smoking, but I'll soon be joining them. But I'm a little bit confused who you are. I feel like I've seen you on TV before, maybe at a hearing of some sort.
You have. I testified in front of the Senate.
Hmm.
So I can't remember much because I have repressed memory.
Okay. Well, Miss Ford, I'm real happy that you're here with us today.
Well, you knew who I am. I'm so pleased.
Yeah. Well, I hope your memories aren't repressed when it comes to the news.
You're not going to try to grope me, are you?
No, I'm on the other side of the computer, miles away, so you're safe.
As I remember it, you just tried to grope me.
Okay.
I'm telling Dianne Feinstein.
Please do. I would love to duke it out with her. So what stories do you have today?
Well, Stu, I'd like to talk about this Unite the Right trickery played on the Glenn Youngkin campaign. It's a dastardly act, but it's also emblematic of just how nonsensical our political discourse is these days. So a bunch of guys show up in front of a bus dressed in khaki pants, and somehow we're supposed to denote that makes Glenn Youngkin a white supremacist. I mean, the whole thing is just so goofy. And you wonder why McAuliffe just can't engage in truthful debate about issues.
It's the same underhanded tactics that we saw LeVar Stoney utilize in Wisconsin, where his team slashed the tires of the Republican vans, and LeVar initially lied about it until the FBI got involved. But at that point, the damage is already done. Had there not been people on the internet who quickly identified that there's a very high possibility that the people who did that stunt actually worked for the Democratic Party of Virginia or campaigns affiliated with the Democratic Party of Virginia, then I think this could have been a torpedo missile to the Youngkin campaign. But then once that's found out, all of a sudden the Lincoln Project comes out from the woodwork and claims they did it.
Yeah, when you look at the people, the little punks who were standing there, they're all Democratic activists. And if you look at what happened, the timeliness of it all is immediately in the morning, the McAuliffe campaign was running on 8 cylinders, putting the story out, which means they obviously knew it was coming out to begin with. They were in cahoots with those folks. And blaming it on the Lincoln Project, that was a subterfuge, an easy out for them in case they got caught. It was predetermined. I mean, how stupid do they think we are?
Yeah. But
I mean, after all, Stuart, I am a doctor.
Valid.
Yeah, I'm not stupid.
But something to keep in mind, I almost feel like the entire McAuliffe campaign is imploding upon itself right now. We have a lot of things going on that are just wrong with the campaign. You had the communications director have some racist tweets that were uncovered of late. You have some weird donation money. So Lycatel is a company, foreign company, donated $350K. They are currently in court in France for tax fraud, money laundering. 19 of their staff members have been arrested, and this is an ongoing thing. And you simultaneously have McAuliffe saying that Glenn Youngkin is anti-vax. However, he accepts money from Albert Dwoskin and his now divorced wife, Claire, and Claire described vaccines as a holocaust of poisoning and runs the Children's Medical Safety Research Institute, which is openly considered what the traditional definition of anti-vax used to be. So just wild crap.
Well, McAuliffe's crookedness is legendary. Very involved with the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation.
Mhm.
He was the president of Green Tech, which, if you've seen the videos of that, he guarantees people in Mississippi that he's going to bring all these jobs to the Delta. Again, no honest person in business guarantees anything. But what that was is they get $500,000 in these IB5 programs from Chinese nationals so they can come and live in the United States, probably as a passport to citizenship. And it's just crooked as hell to begin with. And of course, they pocketed all the money and they didn't provide any jobs, maybe about 12 out of the 500 or so they promised, and it was a complete waste of taxpayer money. Now, any honest person after having a debacle like that would withdraw from politics. But that's just, these are the same people who cozy up with Hugh Rodham and use government money to give to the people of Haiti, and they end up getting rich, and none of it goes to the people of Haiti. He's a charlatan, a crook, and a carpetbagger, and he's sleazy as hell. The other thing, Stu, is this idea that he's been so sleazy and inside the Beltway for so long, he's really in a bubble. This weekend, he said, parents shouldn't pick textbooks. We have experts for that.
I love Millie and Jack McAuliffe, my parents, but they should not have been picking my math or science book. We have experts who actually do that. I'm trying to lift everybody up, and that's why so many Republicans have endorsed me. Bill Kristol, goodness sake, endorsed me.
Because they don't like me, because I'm a conservative, imperialist, warmonger, etc.
Gee, wow, what a thrill. I'm actually talking to that TV star, Bill Kristol, who I see on Fixed News all the time. I wouldn't miss you. You're the best at propaganda.
That is so out of the mainstream. Only a government apparatus chick could possibly think that way and not understand how much that just disgusts the average mom and dad of a kid in school. Mm-hmm. And finally, the bubble he lives in. I sent my kids to private school. I have no problem with sending your kids to private school. He sent his kids to private school, but they didn't even send them to private school in Virginia. But yet he thinks that his little elite group has the right to make all decisions for parents as far as their children's education. It's stunning in its hypocrisy and elitism and hubris. Good word there, Stu. Willie. Willie, I saw you in concert a few years ago, and you look much younger than you did then. Have you been is it a special type of marijuana you've been smoking, or it makes you kind of like a fountain of youth marijuana?
I smoke that redheaded stranger, and it just takes me back to my youth.
Well, there you go. All right, Stu, the topic that I know we get tired of talking about, but it's always in the news. American Airlines canceled over 1,500 flights this weekend. Again, they say it's because of the weather. But we know what's happening there. But November 1 is the deadline for a bunch of these mandates to come in place. And nowhere is the battle more at hand than in New York. You've got huge numbers of policemen saying they aren't going to get vaccinated. You can fire me. The union's on their side. Over the weekend, there are 26 firehouses in New York closed. De Blasio says he's going to punish the people. These are all, first responders. Then there's all kinds of other folks with the transit authority. Even, by the way, the House of Representatives in Washington, they have a November 1 deadline. Of course, they will break that. The rules don't apply to them. But you're going to see a massive shortage of necessary workers because of these mandates. And Stu, I mean, it's the fact that, again, we get back to Immanuel Kant. The fact that objective reality doesn't mean anything is, again, shocking. They're going to stick to their guns. The reason they're going to stick to the guns on all this stuff, Stu, is they don't want another control group out there, unvaccinated, because it will illustrate that they were criminally wrong and negligent in what they have done. The Lancelot Infectious Disease Journal has come out and said, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, you spread the virus at the same rate. Again, we spoke about Waterford, Ireland. 99.7% of the people there are vaccinated, but yet they have the highest infection rate and hospitalization rate, which also means death rate in Ireland and in Europe, way higher than, say, the whole state of Florida. Right there, it's just proof that what we've said before about trying to vaccinate in the teeth of a pandemic only makes the virus mutate and spread. We also know that, excuse me, Stu, I got some of my hair out of place and in my mouth. Again, in Uttar Pradesh, a state of 241 million people, they started to pass out ivermectin about a month ago. Prophylactics work. They've practically eradicated COVID in a state about 2/3 the size of the United States. But yet the politicians cling to this control and these mandates. Stu, along with McAuliffe, the election is in 2-3 days, but Fairfax County looks to me like they're already trying to cheat. It's been reported that they're not requiring Social Security numbers on absentee ballots. There's no reason for that, Stu, unless you want to cheat. And the elections director there said it might be Friday before they have all the votes counted. Now, Fairfax County is extraordinarily rich. I work with some of their government agencies. They have more money to do more things, and they're very technologically advanced. Again, it's a replay of 2020. The other thing that happened over the weekend that I think is funny as hell, because I love to see liberals slobber all over themselves and get their panties in the wad, is President Trump did the tomahawk chop at the Braves game. These people, they take offense at things because they can use it as a tool. And what they're mad about is not that they feel any kind of slight to American Indians, is that he blatantly disrespected their political tool and said, "Eat me," basically. Mm-hmm. I remember going to the Braves years ago when in the bullpen was Chief Nakahoma. Anyway, and the other thing, Stu, is you might want to work on this. There's a new dance called the Brandon Slide.
Okay.
You can see it on YouTube. That's what I got, Stu.
Right on. So I'm only really focusing on one story today. I saw that our Secretary of State, Blinken, is threatening military action in Iran. So the idea of fighting Iran has been this somewhat dream of the war hawks in Washington, regardless of what side they're in. You might remember that Bolton wanted to have boots on the ground there. And when we talk about Iran, we're talking about a place that is 2.4 times the size of Texas. It has a population of 40 million people, so larger than any state in the Union, about the same as California. And over the weekend, we did some flybys in Iran with our allies from Bahrain, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. And the Biden administration wants to get back in bed with Iran. They want to go back to the Obama era policy of essentially paying Iran $150 billion to not have the kind of nuclear program they want. Now, when Trump comes into office, he gets rid of that. He famously hated it, but he did something that I disagree with, and that he did a ton of sanctions on them. But by putting those sanctions on Iran, he essentially shrinked the Iranian economy by 90%, which I do consider to be warfare in its own way. This is not looking good. The idea that we're threatening military action, I hate that 100%. And one of Iran's largest allies, Russia, has already had troop movement. They are kind of setting up base on the Ukrainian border. So it looks like Russia is getting a little bit reckless now that Iran is kind of being kind of hostily courted by the Biden administration. But it just goes to show that this is another thing that the Biden administration is mishandling. The idea that we have the G20 going on while we are simultaneously threatening acts of war on Iran while we're meeting with the Erdogan from Turkey is just psychotic to me. You know,
Well,
where
I
is
doubt Biden even knows what's going on.
true, but it just goes to show that this is probably truly the most incompetent presidential team in history.
Yeah, I think the Biden is controlled by a puppeteer who lives right down the street in Embassy Row, Obama and his cabal of extreme leftists and Marxists. I do think that people who have this insatiable appetite for domestic power also have the same domestic appetite for international power and warfare. Look at Napoleon.
Good point. Great point.
Well, thank you, Steve. The Corsican tyrant. Egalite, liberté, fraternité. Let's send our armies around the world to be crushed in Russia and have hundreds of thousands killed. Yeah, that's fine.
So, do you have any repressed memories you would like to share with us today?
Gosh, Stu, I forgot all about my repressed memories, quotes and such. I would just like to make a confession that none of those things that I said happened in front of the Senate ever happened.
36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer, right? I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know. What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know. Upstairs, downstairs, where was it? I don't know. But I had one beer. That's the only thing I remember.
Thank you so much for having a great Halloween costume. and make sure everybody get out and vote if you haven't voted already on Tuesday.
Well, Stu, I don't like it when, like, I walked into the ice cream shop the other night and I had this little I voted thing on, and the ice cream barista said, "Thank you for voting." I'm like, who the hell are you to thank me for voting? The only people I want to thank for voting are the people who are going to vote for my guy.
That's fair.
Yeah. So there you have it. And you know what, Stu? I believe if you can't get your ass to the polls, or if you can't make an effort to vote, you ought not to be voting. If you don't have enough skin in the game to get your ass out of bed and go to the polling place or send in an absentee ballot, which you have plenty of time to do, then I don't want you to vote, because it shows you're just a ne'er-do-well nobody who shouldn't be voting.
I don't disagree.
Okay, Stu, I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Right
See ya.
on. Later.
Bye.
I smoked with Willie Nelson and he made me quit. It was the greatest experience of my life.